Good morning. I wanted to take a step back from all the heavy metaphysics of this course because the real teaching is in Jesus' gentleness. And it's easy to forget that and take everything very seriously. And there's a beautiful little the little garden metaphor in chapter 18. And I was prompted this morning by Jesus to refer to that and to share it with you. And it's just such a masterful, poetic description of this teaching and how we are to think of our brothers and ourselves and this kingdom, this world that we've created, this desert. And I hope you'll read it. It's in chapter 18, which is the passing of the dream, and it's section 8, the little garden. And it talks about how it's the body that was created, made by the ego, to be a barrier against love. And within the world of bodies, we live in this desert. And the ego rules our kingdom, so to speak. And the ego rules cruelly. And yet all around this kingdom that we've set up to keep God out, holiness is right there surrounding it. And in paragraph 9, I wanted to start reading what it says to us. The thought of God surrounds your little kingdom, waiting at the barrier you built to come inside and shine upon the barren ground. See how life springs up everywhere. The desert becomes a garden, green and deep and quiet, offering rest to those who lost their way and wander in the dust. Give them a place of refuge, prepared by love for them where once a desert was. And everyone you welcome will bring love with him from heaven for you. They enter one by one into this holy place, but they will not depart as they had come, alone. The love they brought with them will stay with them as it will stay with you. And under its beneficence, your little garden will expand and reach out to everyone who thirsts for living water, but has grown too weary to go on alone. Go out and find them, for they bring yourself with them, and lead them gently to your quiet garden and receive their blessing there. So will it grow and stretch across the desert, leaving no lonely little kingdoms locked away from love, and leaving you inside. And you will recognize yourself and see your little garden gently transformed into the kingdom of heaven, with all the love of its creator shining upon it. The holy instant is your invitation to love, to enter into your bleak and joyless kingdom, and to transform it into a garden of peace and welcome. Love's answer is inevitable. It will come because you came without the body and interposed no barriers to interfere with its glad coming. In the holy instant, you ask of love only what it offers everyone, neither less nor more. Asking for everything, you will receive it, and your shining self will lift the tiny aspect that you tried to hide from heaven straight to heaven. No part of love calls on the whole in vain. No Son of God remains outside his fatherhood. Be sure of this. Love has entered your special relationship and entered fully at your weak request. And then it goes on, and I hope you will take time to read it all from the beginning. And as we live our lives and get pummeled, like I did yesterday, by these ego attacks, and then we stop and we remember what it's for, and we remember that we want the miracle instead of our feelings of being hurt or angry. Then that's the invitation for Jesus and all this incredible gentleness to enter into our garden and create something lush and green and beautiful where only a desert was. And that happened to me exactly like that yesterday. I literally had like this 1, 2, 3 punch seeming relationships, special relationships, which are special because I'm using them for my healing, and they are showing me all my attachment. So when I open to God's love, they become holy. And as I went through the day, and it was like I was one of those little boxers, in a video game, and I'd kind of get knocked down, and then, I'd stand back up kind of dizzy, and then this new figure in my dream would come and knock me down and, give me a good stomach kick, and then, I'm kind of stumbling around after that, barely conscious, and then the third one seemed to come in and, give me a good kick to the kidneys. And I was feeling everything that I know you feel very deeply still, but I was also aware of what this is for. And so my heart went out to all of you, knowing how real it feels and challenging, and just with you, extending to you my faith in you and my faith in myself to open to the miracle. And sure enough, it did. The miracle never lets us down. And right in the moment, I had to just kind of feel, but not indulge what I was feeling, and hear the thoughts, but not indulge them, and just do my best to follow Jesus, who would, basically say, you don't need to continue to be here, or you don't need to continue to think about this problem, just give it to me. And then the nighttime sort of ended pretty calm, and what happened was I went to bed, And my mind got this very powerful instruction from Jesus about a way that I need to reframe how I think about the secret dream, and corrected something, and literally came in and said, you have a distortion I want you to correct. And so I wanted to share that with you, because I've also shared this with you. And he's saying, no, don't think of it that way. So I've explained the secret dream as an iceberg that's underneath the consciousness, and it is big and vast, and it is this huge amount of sin, guilt, and fear that we believe in. And every time we are in the holy instant, we choose the miracle. We would rather be wrong and peaceful and receive the healing than we would rather continue to feel justified in our feelings, right? And I've said every time we do that with Jesus, that erodes a little bit of the iceberg. And I know I've heard that, and I know I've learned it that way. But Jesus would like us to feel it a different way, okay? And instead of imagining it as this massive amount of guilt and sin and fear under the conscious mind, let's not think of it that way. He said, it's a puff of nothing. It is the attraction that we are undoing when we choose the miracle. And when he told me that, everything just shifted in my mind, and I went, oh my goodness, that's why it's taken me 40 years to do this. And that's okay that it has, because there's no importance on time. So, I'm not saying that was a problem, and it just takes what it takes. But just take this in deeply if you can. Imagine our attraction like velcro. And the ego keeps telling us if we choose God's love, we're doomed, It doesn't come out and say it directly, but the feeling is there. We're afraid of God's love. Well, what is that? It's the ego's influence, because it tells us that if we're not a separate I, if we're not a separate one, it will be nothing. And why we keep listening to it is we are attracted to this idea of being separate. So imagine our attraction like we've said this before, like this addiction to a heroin substance. And we know it's bad for us, but we're so attracted to it. We can't help ourselves. And we really can't help ourselves. And this is where Jesus shows us through these contrast experiences that we don't need to want the ego anymore, that we really want his peace. So we don't need to worry about the sin, guilt, and fear and healing all of that, because it's a puff of nothing. The real issue is becoming more attracted to the peace and the love and the gentleness and the beautiful garden that Jesus and the Holy Spirit, this loving light in our minds, offers us. Than we are to the desert. It's a big lie. And when I feel it so differently today, like salvation is immediate. It's immediate as soon as we don't want the desert anymore, because it's a puff of nothing. And last night was a great example of learning that, because the love and the joy and the gentleness that I got to by the end of the day, especially into the night when I'm drifting off to sleep, but I feel Jesus come into my mind and help me. The gentleness I felt then was so far grander. It was so grand and so beautiful and so full of life, full of joy, full of comfort. And I'm attracted to that. So that's how he teaches us. He's changing what we're attracted to by giving us these contrasts. And we can skip through these lessons with him that way. And the more we experience his peace and love and joy and lightness and gentleness, the quicker we are next time to choose the miracle over being right. And again, we don't know how that light will change our minds. It's not our job to know that. We just say, I'm willing to be wrong. I want the miracle. I want your miracle here. Take all of this. I'm not going to solve this. You take it. You tell me where to go. You tell me what to say. Right now, I'm just going to get quiet. I need do nothing. And then you may need to go about your day, but your mind isn't churning. It's getting still. And he comes in when our mind is still. That's when we let down that barrier to his love, is when our mind is still. And then he shines a huge, beautiful light and brings in water, and the flowers begin to bloom, and the birds begin to sing, and what used to be barren desert turns into the oasis. And he's saying, hey, this is how it works, kids. You get still. You stop defending against my love, and I will come in and make your kingdom of a desert into the kingdom of God, and everyone will come to get comforted here in your mind. So if you want to save the world with me, this is how we do it, in our mind. At the end of this section, paragraph 13, it says, "You have reached the end of an ancient journey, not realizing yet that it's over. You are still worn and tired, and the desert's dust still seems to cloud your eyes and keep you sightless. Yet he whom you welcomed has welcomed you, and would welcome you. He has waited long to give you this. Receive it now of him, for he would have you know him. Only a little wall of dust still stands between you and your brother. Blow on it lightly and with happy laughter, and it'll fall away. And walk into the garden love has prepared for both of you." Isn't that beautiful? He doesn't say, go attack that big, huge mountain of sin, guilt, and fear. So, I hope this is helpful. I hope you have spent time imagining the happy day that you want to have today. It's always okay to start your day over if you haven't. And just imagine from here that if I make no decisions on my own, this is the day that will be given me. And I will talk to you soon.